Well, that's quite a nice view. Wouldn't mind having a balcony up here. Our watch is telling me I'm off course, just because I'm wandering down here to have a look at the view. White Cliffs of Dover. So we're now coming up on the Dover Patrol Memorial, and the sky is looking a little bit dark. I think I've got two spots. One of them is just up there where that tall tree is. There's Long Barrow, I think, up there. There's definitely a trig point. The other point is down nearer the seafront there, the cliff front, just down there. Both open access lands and both right on the coast, as you can see. You can see right on the White Cliffs here, right on the edge. And unfortunately, a number of these cliff sides have actually collapsed downwards. So I'm not going to get too close to the edge. You can see the cracking in that cliff there. Little way down there. So evening. I'm out on the 1st of May to get my Mayday Wild Camp out of the way nice and early. Was going to be a group camp tonight. 3 of us were going to go somewhere, but we'd never managed to actually organise anything. So I thought, I'd pop out on my own. The weather isn't as good as it has been just recently. I had a run of a few nice warm days, lots of sunshine. Today's been overcast. It's been raining on the way down here. But according to the forecast, the rain should peter out by 7 or 8 o'clock, and then I should have a dry night. But it's very unlikely to be a clear night, which on the plus side means it's going to be nice and warm, but on the downside I probably won't get to see a sunset or a sunrise. So I think I'll just be toasting the clouds this evening. I've come down to the south coast near Dover, and I'm heading to a spot called either Leathercoat or Hope Point. For some reason Google Maps calls it Leathercoat Point and OS Maps calls it Hope Point. So it's on the south coast, just north of Dover, and it's on the White Cliffs. So I'm just heading inland from the coast. Coast is over there, so over my right shoulder, and heading inland to scout out one of 2 locations, potential locations for me. One of them, there's a trig point, and I think it's a long barrow, or it might just be tumulus, on an open access bit of scrubland near a golf course. If that doesn't pan out, I've got a secondary spot which is right down near the cliffs, on the top of the cliffs by the cliff path, which is another piece of open access land with some scrub cover. It's near actually where we did the group camp about a month ago, so same sort of area. So I got a new pair of shoes for this outing. They're a pair of Mammoth something or others, not too sure what they are. I bought them because they're much lighter weight than the other shoes I've got. Much better in the warmer weather, and it is warm today. It's about 15 degrees, even if it is a bit overcast. I've gone with the Osprey Atmos 65 rucksack today rather than the flex capacitor, and really didn't need the extra volume of it. I had to cinch it all in because there's probably a good 15 or 20 litres of space in it, and I got my pack weight down to 13 kilos, which is really good because every time I've been out it's been 16 kilos, 16 and a half kilos. 13, really pleased with that. Then again, it shouldn't get down below 9 degrees tonight, so I haven't bought all my thermals and all that sort of gubbings. National Trust, Barrow Mount. This is the open access land where there is the tumulus, possibly a long barrow, and the trig point. And also, not that I think I need it, some water as well. Although it doesn't look very pleasant, and I haven't bought my water filter. Maybe I'll give that one a miss. So this is Barrow Mount. Really am spot for choice up here. Over there behind me, that way's east to the sea and the cliffs. So you can see if there's going to be a sunrise, there'll be a lovely sunrise. If I swing you around in the opposite direction, over my shoulder now, that's the west. And that's where the sunset would be if it wasn't very cloudy. And then over my shoulder, somewhere up over there, there is the memorial that I started off at, the Dover Patrol Memorial. So this area is flat on the top of a hill, a little bit tussocky, but the grass is pretty short. Really would be spot for choice up here. I want to walk on and have a look at my other option. It's still early, still got an hour plus of daylight left, so scout out the second location. That's about another kilometre away, and decide which one of the two I choose. Before I leave Barrow Mount, I really want to try and find and touch the trig point, but it appears to be overgrown somewhat, and it's somewhat, oh no, I can see it. Let's swivel you round. There's the golf course, and there in the corner of the golf course is a trig point, which I'm going to have to go and touch, because that's the done thing, isn't it? Trig point. There we go. There we go. Trig point touched. This says Ordnance Survey, Triangulation Station. It's in quite good nick. I guess it's not really quite as accessible as most trig points. New shoes, new slippery laces. They always come undone. I don't like double knotting them, otherwise it confuses me when I come to take them off again. It's funny how using Google Earth, Google Maps and Google Street View can give you a warp perspective of things. See that little clump of trees down there, that big clump of trees, that big clump of big trees. When I was looking on Google and on Ordnance Survey, that looked like it was about half a dozen little shrubs in a field. Didn't look like it was very big at all. It's absolutely huge. It's almost like a little mini forest in the middle of the field. A bit peculiar that it's there. Don't know why it's there. It must be protected for some reason. And while I'm talking about Google Maps and OS, etc., it's also interesting that this path here doesn't exist on OS maps. If you look on Komoot, it exists. OpenStreetMap, it exists. And on Google Maps, it doesn't exist. So it's obviously a well-known path, but you have to find the right mapping software to find it. And according to OS Maps and Google Maps, there's no way to walk to Barrow Mount or this place I'm getting to now. So know your mapping, use your mapping, use it sensibly. Okay, now this is a little weird. I've just looked at my watch to see what the time is. It says 19:43. That's nearly 8:45, and sunsets are 8:15, and it's still really light. And it can't be that late because I started this walk about 6 o'clock and I haven't been walking for 2 hours. So I just checked my phone. It says 19:44. And then something's dawned on me. If I open my phone and go to messages, I've just had a notification that I'm welcome to France. So my phone and my watch now think I'm in France, which is 25 miles ahead of me there, and it's put my watch and my phone ahead by an hour. rate advice for my phone. Apparently I can roam at no cost. 12 gigs of data. I don't want to roam, I'm still in England. At least it means it's not as late as I thought it was, and I have got time to scout out a second location and get back to the first one if I want to. Gained an hour. Okay, so this is the path down to my alternate spot, and this area up to my left there, the scrub land, is open access land, and there's a couple of little clearings in there, the second one of which looks like it's quite shielded from the path, and we'll see what it looks like while I'm here though. Have a look over the edge again, just because I like scaring myself. You can see the coastal erosion there, down at the base of that cliff. You can see where the sea has worn away, eaten away, eroded at the chalk cliff. And this area here where the chalk has actually collapsed. I don't know whether you can see that blooming great crack on that section that I was up at just now. That is a big old crack. So I guess that whole edge is going to cleave off at some time in the not too distant future. Probably during a storm. At least it's nice and calm out here tonight. Now this was one of the places I saw on Google. Recognised that wooden post. That area is definitely not appropriate. Not flat, too tussocky, too close to the path, too brambly. Okay, now this isn't a bad spot. Still quite tussocky, but relatively flat, and it's well out of the way. You can see the sea over that way, the path just this side of the cliff. Really quite a nice spot, but I don't think it's a patch on Barrow Mount. So whilst it's very quiet, it's very tranquil, I think I'm going to wander back up to Barrow Mount, pitch up there. Just where I've been taking some photos of the nice clifftop view, with a nice dead wood post in the foreground with some holes in it, making a sort of spyglass effect. I was taking a photo and heard a very peculiar noise. Looked down inside the hollow post and there's a nest in there. Didn't want to disturb the bird too much, but it looked like it might have been a great tit or something like that. Quite dark down in there. Had its nest right down, about 3 foot down inside the fence post. I really hope that it managed to raise its brood, because it's rather a public place right by the kissing gate there. Just listen to those skylarks. Well, after much searching around in the undergrowth, it appears that I am now right on top of the tumulus, which is a burial mound, and there's a very slight mound here. It's only a couple of foot at most high, and it's right out the back of this little woodland, and the only real sign that there's anything here are the burrows, which I presume are badgers. Quite uninspiring really. Now I need to find my way back out and where I left my bag. That should be interesting. Okay, I think I've chosen my spot now. So up in Barrow Mount, and over there behind me, eastwards, hopefully to catch the dawn. And I think what I'll do is I'll pitch up just here. Quite nice soft tufts of grass, not too tussocky. I've done a couple of mods to the SCART one I've got out tonight. Firstly, got the guy line up over the walking pole just at the head end of the tent, and those guy lines have clips on both ends, and you can either use them as I have with the pole, or you can put them on to the hoop and have side guys if it's windy. It's really still at the moment, so I'm not worried about side guys, so I've got it out there. that pulls the top of the tent out. What I've also done, if you look inside, is I have attached a loop to the inside of the guy out point and the inside of the inner, so that as the outer pulls out, so the inner pulls up as well, which gives me an extra 4 or 5 inches of headroom. I've also made myself a polycro ground sheet, made a window film. You can see it covers most of the vestibule and the whole of the underside of the tent. There we are, set up. Got my fire pot mushroom risotto on the go. That's going to take 15 minutes to rehydrate. And I'm absolutely staggered how quickly the brew kit boiled that. That nearly caught me out, spitting everywhere. But now it is just time that the sun's going down. You wouldn't guess that it was. Somewhere behind that cloud bank, the brilliant sun is setting on another day. So, as is traditional, using Brewdog, the traditional wild campers beer of choice, I'm going to toast the sun going down. Here's the sunset. See you tomorrow, hopefully. And cheers to you guys too. Shame you couldn't be here. So I bought this a little while ago. Haven't used it yet. It's a Thermarest Trekker chair. You put the Thermarest air mattress in it and it turns it into a chair, which is extremely comfortable. Like having a sofa overlooking the Dover Patrol Memorial, France, ships going back and forth, and the cliffs. Hear the skylark still. Let's see what my mushroom risotto is like. I've not tried this one before. Well, this looks like chocolate pudding. It tastes really good, very mushroomy, and risotto-like, which is not surprising, as it is mushroom risotto. So as I'm sure you know from previously, I'm a bit of an Alp Kit fanboy. So I've got my Alp Kit brew kit, which is a jet boil clone for a quarter of the price. Really like that. Got my Alp Kit aluminium table, which I really like as well. Got my Alp Kit long spoon, which I really like. Oh, and I've got Alp Kit merino base on as well. So good morning. Taylor's coffee bag coffee again this morning. As you can see over my shoulder there towards the east, wasn't much of a sunrise this morning. The merest glimmer of orangeness on the horizon. Using the Thermarest X-Therm pad and my Featherstone Moondance 25 quilt, and it's a really good sleep system together. I was quite warm last night because it was around 10 degrees, but at least with the quilt you can stick your feet out from underneath it. You can bring some cold air in underneath it easily, so it was really easy to regulate the temperature. One minor irritation overnight was the amount of aircraft that were going over. I think they seemed to stop around midnight, but up until then it was such an intrusive noise. Even with earplugs in, I could still hear the aircraft. They must have been really low overhead. Just before I pack it away, I'm going to show you my Polycro ground sheet for the SCART one. It's window film, Polycro window film. It's quite robust, quite durable. And what I've done is I've put grommets in it at the corners and at the vestibules with some shock cord in them, just goes around the bottom of the pole to hold it out, and around the edges I've just put one layer of packing tape, clear packing tape around the edges, because it can be a little bit prone to tearing. So by putting the tape on there, you just protect the edges. But it's worked really well the 2 times I've used this now. Much cheaper than a purchase footprint, maybe not as durable though, and it packs down nice and small and weighs virtually nothing. I'm not sure how much this weighs, can't be much more than 50 grams, and just goes in my stuff sack with my pegs. Okay, I'm packed up now. There's my spot, leave no trace apart from my bag and some flattened grass. Nothing else there. I've counted my pegs in, counted my pegs out, which is good. And there's my rucksack. As you can see, there's an awful lot of space in there. 65 litre rucksack. I reckon I've used 35 litres. Go. Farewell, Barrow Mount. Well, I know I say it every time, but that was another thoroughly enjoyable wild camping experience. Gets a bit repetitive, I always say it, but it always is. Everywhere you go is a little bit different. Everywhere you go has a different feel about it. I didn't get my sunset and I didn't get my sunrise, but it's still a real cathartic experience being out in nature again and listening to the noise of the aeroplanes. My new Mammoth shoes have held up okay. They're not rubbing my feet after about 8 kilometres of walking, which is always good for a new pair of shoes. Can be a bit foolhardy coming out on a trek with new shoes, but all went okay. The Scarp one performed admirably again. Was a little concerned because of the lack of the breeze last night that there wouldn't be enough air circulation through the tent to keep the condensation at bay. Apparently you exhale about half a litre of water overnight, but shouldn't have worried. Scarp one performed admirably, didn't get any of the condensation despite the lack of the breeze. However, I did open up all of the ventilation ports on the sides and the ends and at the top of the doors. I'm just going to go for a last look at these amazing chalk cliffs before I get up to the memorial and then move away from the cliff's edge. Taking a slightly different route back rather than up past the memorial, down the lees along the cliff top path. And whether you can see up behind me there over my shoulder, there are 4 camper vans up there. When I was walking down here yesterday, I was talking to a couple who had camped out there overnight in their camper van, which is a beautiful spot at the end of a dead end road with that view over to the sea over there. And they were telling me that a policeman came up to them in the morning and said had they stayed overnight, and they said yes, and he said I hope you enjoyed it. So they obviously don't mind that people are staying up there, which is quite surprising, but quite a nice spot. I'd still rather be in a tent though than a camper van.